It's now 16 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock. Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Now, the Caribbean Export Development Agency, in collaboration with the government of Trinidad and Tobago, the CARICOM Secretariat, the Caribbean Development Bank, the Caribbean Association of Investment Promotion Agencies, and with support from the European Union, is convening the Caribbean Investment Forum from November 8th to 11th. With me to talk more about this is Manager Competitiveness and Export Promotion at Caribbean Export, Dr. Dami Sinanan, and Vice President Investments at InvestTT, Mrs. Pramila Ramdani. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Sinanan, I'm going to start with you first. What is the Caribbean Investment Forum?
Well, thank you very much, Kimberly, for having us on the show this morning. The Caribbean Investment Forum is quite literally the largest gathering of business persons in the Caribbean region since the COVID-19 pandemic, so since 2018. It is really our goal to have private sector persons from not only around the region, but investors from around the globe coming together in Port of Spain next week from the 8th to the 11th of November to come together to try to do business and attract foreign direct investment into the Caribbean region. That is really the point and the purpose of the Caribbean Investment Forum.
Right. Now, as a region, we have seen some of the benefits of having those European investments coming. And I think one of the most recent would have been that influx of the investment into Jamaica. But I'm also wondering, do you see more opportunities for the Caribbean from the European markets or even from other parts of the globe?
Oh, absolutely. The Caribbean region has a number of competitive advantages. I mean, we have a highly educated population and a highly educated and skilled and capable workforce. We have stable political climates. We're in a conducive time zone. We have a number of scenic beauty. We have our culture. We have our people. So we have a number of competitive advantages that can attract foreign direct investors and investment into the region. And what you saw in Jamaica is just one such area. So, for example, the hotel and the tourism projects. But we also see potential in other sectors. So, for example, the renewable energy sector, the digital business sector. The Caribbean region has so much to offer in these areas. And we think that investors, not only from Europe, but investors from the USA, from Latin America, from the Middle East, from Asia, can take advantage and come to the region and take advantage of these investment projects and build areas that not only are profitable for them, but also contributes to the resilience and the transformation of the Caribbean region. So there are a number of examples that we can highlight and a number of examples that we hope can result from the Caribbean Investment Forum.
Yeah. Now, Mrs. Ramdani, I'm going to bring you in here because I know that Dr. Sinanan gave us an overview of the region, but as it relates to TNT specifically, do you think there are certain areas that need the investment?
Oh, absolutely. The key areas that the Caribbean Investment Forum is focusing on really resonates with some of the investment opportunities that we are looking for in Trinidad and Tobago. As an example, agri-tech. That is a focus for Trinidad and Tobago, as well as the rest of the Caribbean region. Logistics, transport, distribution, those are key areas that we are looking for investment opportunities in Trinidad and Tobago, as well as digitization and technology. So definitely the areas and the opportunities within the Caribbean Investment Forum resonates specifically to Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah. Now, I'm going back to you, Dr. Sinanan, only because we are seeing that Trinidad is ripe for investment. But I'm just wondering, how do you think the crime factor is going to affect us when foreigners look to invest here locally?
Well, I mean, we are conscious of the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago. One of my colleagues, Dr. Roger Hussein, who's a mentor of mine, actually, mentioned that in an interview that I saw that, the crime can affect foreign direct investment. Unfortunately, that is certainly the case, but we have to remember to crime, even though it may be a problem, or it is a problem in Trinidad and Tobago, and not only Trinidad and Tobago, but other countries in the region and other countries around the world, investors really seek areas that they can be profitable in. So if we can continue to push our competitive advantages and the areas that, we have that competitive advantage in, and push the projects and make it attractive for investors, I see us still being able to take strong advantage of opportunities that we can exploit. So again, it's all about pushing what makes us unique, pushing the areas that we want to go, and at the same time trying to work on the problems and issues that we have. And let's not be mistaken. Many countries around the region are attracting foreign direct investment, and they have their own internal struggles as well. There's no country or there's no market that's a utopia for investors. Every market has issues that they face. What is important is that we continue to focus on the positives and try to negate the negatives as much as possible.
Nice. Now, switching gears to the CIF, can you tell us exactly when it's going to be? And I mean, what has the general response been like, and who is this really for?
Well, let me start with the last question first, Kimberly. This really is for business persons. We've hosted a number of investment forums in the past, and I'm talking about pre-COVID, where we have, a lot of speeches and a lot of promises and a lot of political, machinations. This really is a conference and a forum for business persons. So we expect, as I noted, to start with the largest collection of private sector persons who have come together since the COVID-19 pandemic. Because we recognize that once you have business persons and you put them in a room together and you put them in a room with willing, vetted investors, then good things can happen. They will come together and they will find a way to do business. And whether that is extra-regional investors or even intra-regional investors as well, or even persons who are attending the forum, they can come together and they can do business deals together that can result in not only investment, but trade and exports.
Yeah.
So really, the purpose of this forum is really for the business person, bringing them together and seeing what can happen when you bring business persons together. Yeah. And I would encourage persons, when you attend, you will have access to over 400 contemporaries who will be in the room together, who are all eager and willing to do business with one another.
And in terms of the interest level, has it been positive thus far?
Absolutely. We've been marketing this forum for the last 2 months, and you have your marketing metrics. So, for example, website visits, registrations. To date, we have over 375 confirmed registrations. And we have 1 week to go. And we know sometimes Caribbean persons like to wait until the last minute to register. So we're hoping to double that number by the end of the week.
Of course.
We had a launch event that took place about a month ago. And we had over 500 persons register for that launch. And we had it was an online launch. And of that 500 persons, actually 350 persons actually attended the launch, which for many of us who have done webinars over the COVID-19 pandemic know that is a very good percentage. So by every metric that we have put together, we recognize that even our sponsors who have come on board have been eager and willing, and they've jumped on board because they recognize the value of a conference like this. Yeah. So we're seeing interest be very strong. We're seeing persons coming into Trinidad and Tobago from countries as far as India, the Middle East, Brazil. So the interest has been extremely strong, but we want to continue to push because we recognize that this forum has a lot to offer the business person to help them build their businesses.
Yeah. Mrs. Ramdhani, I'm going to bring you back in because I was just wondering, given the state of the global economy, so for example, we have the pandemic, we're now coming out of the pandemic, we would have heard monkeypox happening for a while. I mean, exports are expensive, that sort of thing. Why do you think Trinidad is a good place for investors to look at when they're thinking about investing?
Thanks very much, Kimberly. As Dr. Sinanan mentioned, this will be one of the largest convening, actually, I should say live convening of investors, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and Trinidad and Tobago is very, very proud to host this. Trinidad and Tobago offers several competitive advantages for the investors. And during our COVID period as well, we hosted at InvestTT several virtual events, but this will be the first live event. And I also want to mention that even though during the COVID period, we hosted several live events, we were still wooing investors into Trinidad and Tobago. Our foreign investments actually that we brought into Trinidad and Tobago almost tripled during that period. So we are looking at Trinidad and we are looking, as we're hosting this live event, to also have that record again in 2023. Trinidad and Tobago offers several competitive advantages, and these were already outlined by Dr. Sinanan. Our workforce, our highly talented and skilled workforce in Trinidad and Tobago, our fiber optics, our connectivity in Trinidad and Tobago, and also investors are looking for nearshoring opportunities. We have seen an increase in interest from the BPO sector abroad. They're looking to the Caribbean for nearshoring opportunities. We're also seeing manufacturing opportunities. We also have several different industrial parks in Trinidad and Tobago, and this includes our Phoenix Park Industrial Estate. And as you know, it is one of the 5G industrial parks, one of the largest 5G industrial parks that is in the Caribbean and Latin America, and the only 5G industrial park in the Caribbean. So we're hoping as well at the Caribbean Investment Forum to host several site visits and tours to these industrial parks at the ETEC Tamina Intech Park, at the Moruga Agro-Processing Park, at the Phoenix Park Industrial Parks. And we're hoping that again, we'll be able to amplify the opportunities within these industrial parks in manufacturing, in logistics and distribution, in ICT to our foreign investors who are very, very interested in looking at these nearshoring opportunities.
Yeah. And in terms of the, now I know you would have been mentioning, of course, the advantages, but this CIF is being put on by a host of different companies and agencies. I was just thinking about InvestTT's role in the entire forum.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, it is being hosted by CEDA, as represented by Dr. Sinanan, as well as the European Union delegation to Trinidad and Tobago, and about 13 IPAs, 13 investment promotion agencies across the Caribbean. And Trinidad and Tobago is very fortunate to host this. And as a result, we'll be offering several sessions, several unique opportunities to our investors who are traveling from several countries around the world, one of which will be, as I mentioned earlier, site visits and tours. So we'll be hosting those. The event itself is being held at Hyatt Hotel. So we'll also be offering panel discussions, co-hosting those panel discussions with India Exim Bank. We'll also be hosting an exhibition booth at the live event, as well as matchmaking and hosting B2B sessions with investors. We'll also be promoting a virtual guide and updating our virtual guide to investing in Trinidad and Tobago. So there are several opportunities that we are taking a key role in at InvestTT to welcome our neighboring IPAs, as well as the investors that are coming into Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, our Prime Minister, our Prime Minister will also be hosting the second day of the event. He will be also speaking, as well as our Line Minister will also be speaking at the event. So we're integrating all of our government ministers, our entrepreneurial community, as well as our businesses in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a perfect opportunity for you to attend this event and also to meet with foreign investors into Trinidad and Tobago.
Of course. Now, Dr. Sinanan, I'm going to come back to you because I know that Mrs. Ramdhani gave us an overview, but I'm wondering in terms of the days. So it's from the 8th to 11th. Can you share some of the speakers that we're going to be seeing over this 4-day event?
Absolutely. Well, we start on the 8th with a welcome reception where we will showcase the culture of not only Trinidad and Tobago, but the culture of the Caribbean region as well, with some very, very good performers. So foreign direct investors who are coming in can really get a flavor and a taste for not only the region, but especially Trinidad and Tobago as the host country. Our feature speaker on day one is Excellency Wamkele Mene, who is the Secretary General of the African Caribbean, of the African Continental Free Trade Area. He's going to really speak about the opportunities for partnerships and investments between the Caribbean region and Africa. We're sort of seeking to, and they're very willing to do business in the Caribbean. So we're using this conference as another step in continuing to build the bridge between Africa and the Caribbean for trade and investment. We have Dr. Nicholas Brafitt, who is the CEO of Celesta Capital, which is a Silicon Valley-based investment company that have done billions of US dollars in investment. And Dr. Brafitt is Grenadian by birth, and he actually wants to bring some of that capital into the Caribbean region. So he's going to be speaking about attracting partners and projects from the Caribbean region. We have a CEO's roundtable where we will see business leaders in the Caribbean region talk about how they do business in the Caribbean and how they invest Caribbean-wide. So we have Mr. Gilve Warner, who is the CEO of Massey Group, who of course we know is one of the largest conglomerates in the Caribbean region. We have Nigel Batiste, Ms. Karen Yipchuk from Republic Bank Limited, Digicel, amongst all the speakers on that particular panel. We have an investor fireside chat where we have Stephen Snyder, who's the CEO of JetBlue Technologies, Dr. Ibukan Asekoa, and I apologize if I butchered her name. I'm a butcher as a hobby. And she's a Netflix producer and an investor. So these are just some of the speakers that we have, and that's just day one only. On day two, we have the different panels that are focused on the different sectors that we are pushing. So we have an agri-technology sector where we have companies from around the region who are talking about their investments in agri-technology. We have a session on renewable energy, again, where we talk about how we can attract renewable energy investments into the Caribbean region. Logistics, similarly for logistics and transportation, and also for digital business and ICT, because these sectors will, if we can get investments into these sectors, they can have a strong positive impact on the Caribbean region in building resilience, because that's really the theme of the conference, building a smarter,
I know you have
Caribbean.
Yeah, and I know you have so much more to say, but I know that there's also the exhibition booth as well, and I know people can also get more information. But before we go, I was also thinking about the fact that this CIF, it seems as if you're focusing on new priority areas that can also kind of form or create that transformation. What was the main reason behind this?
Well, I mean, the COVID-19 pandemic, as we know, really, really impacted the Caribbean very, very hard. Not only Caribbean, but all countries around the globe. But even before the COVID-19 pandemic, the Caribbean region, we have to recognize that we are small economies and we are very vulnerable economies. And we have to do business differently. We can't continue to do business the same way, because if we continue to do business the same way, we're going to continue to be vulnerable and we're going to be at the mercy of the larger economies. So we have to build our resilience. And we see these sectors, these four specific areas, and there are many others, but at the same time, you have to be focused in your approach. We see these four sectors as really having a transformational impact in the Caribbean region. So if we can continue to build these sectors and encourage direct investment in these sectors and build the capacity of the entrepreneurs in these sectors, we really see it as having a real impact, a transformational impact on the Caribbean region in terms of building a smarter, greener Caribbean that can withstand better the foreign shocks that can really affect us, that we've seen in the past and we've seen over the last 2 years. It's about doing business differently, doing business smarter, and trying to build our resilience in the Caribbean region. So that's really the focus and theme of the conference.
Of course. And Doctor, before you go, just tell us when it's happening, where it's happening, and where we can go to get more information.
It's happening November 8th to the 11th, and the 8th is the opening ceremony. So the main conference is really 9th to the 11th at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Trinidad and Tobago. Log on to our website, www.caribbeaninvestmentforum.com, where you can get more information, see our speaker profiles, see our agenda, and also purchase tickets to attend. www.caribbeaninvestmentforum.com.
Now, Doc, one more question. While this is taking place as a live event in TNT, is there any way that a foreign investor can log on online, or is it that you want them to come here to attend the forum?
We want them to come in. We want them to come to the forum. I mean, like I said, it's the largest gathering. The COVID-19 pandemic, we're trying to it's still around, but we're trying to put it behind us. We want this to be the largest live gathering of business persons in the Caribbean region. So we encourage everyone, come to Trinidad and Tobago. I know it's 1 week away, but it'll really be worth it.
Nice. And Mrs. Ramdhani, finally, any closing thoughts before we go?
Yeah, I'd like to again amplify what Dr. Sinanan said. It is going to be the largest convening of investors in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago during that week. And we do encourage everyone to attend. Seats are still available, tickets are still available, and please log on to www.caribbeaninvestmentforum.com.
Nice. Well, Mrs. Ramdhani, Dr. Sinanan, thank you so much for coming on the show. All the best with the event. As you mentioned, Dr. Sinanan is like 1 week away, so all the best with the forum. And I do hope you see all that foreign investment come in, and there can also be a follow through as we look forward to get our economy back on track. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
Of course. And we were just talking about the Caribbean Investment Forum that's taking place from November 8th to the 11th at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. Stay tuned because after the break, we are going to be taking your phone calls. That's right. Did you go across to Tobago? Were you battling the weather? We want to hear from you. So when we come back from that break, we are going to be opening up our phone lines to hear from you. You're on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a quick break and be right back. Stay with us.